Welcome back, Talk Tickers listeners. Today we're strapping in, getting ready for a deep dive into Nexon's Q3 2024 earnings call.
Nexon.
Yeah, they had...
Formerly Tremor International.
Right. Yeah, you might remember them as Tremor International.
Yeah.
But they've rebranded.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making some serious waves in the ad tech space.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on over there.
Especially in video and connected TV.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it fueled by a pretty impressive data-driven approach, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's actually remarkable how much they've turned things around since late 2023.
Really?
Yeah. Integrating a MOBI, going through that whole rebrand, and then, just navigating this tough economic climate.
Yeah.
They've come out stronger.
Wow.
And you can really see it in those record Q3 results.
Yeah, they've definitely been busy.
For sure.
So this data-first strategy
that
they keep talking about, is that like their secret sauce, their secret to success?
It might be. It's hard to say for certain, but they're using a unified ID graph.
Yeah.
They're building these really robust data platforms, essentially connecting every single point in the advertising supply chain.
So what's the big picture here? What are they trying to achieve with all of this?
I think it's more than just connecting the dots.
Okay.
It's about using that data to actually create better outcomes for advertisers. Like take their partnership with Stagwell, for example.
Okay.
They went head-to-head with a major competitor in the demand-side platform space, like a real heavyweight. Yeah. And they actually delivered better returns on ad spend and a lower cost per customer acquisition.
Wow. That's impressive. So it sounds like they're not just talking the talks, they're walking the walk.
Exactly. And that's the kind of performance that gets noticed,
Yeah, it certainly does.
It makes people sit up and pay attention to what they're doing.
Speaking of areas where they're really grabbing attention, let's talk about connected TV, or CTV. Their growth there has been incredible.
Yeah, it has.
I mean, they've got the advanced technology exclusive TV data assets, including ACR data from partnerships like the one with Vida.
Right.
Plus, they're working directly with major TV manufacturers and streaming platforms. It seems like they've got all the right pieces in place.
It does seem that way, yeah.
But I guess the question is, how are they actually leveraging all these partnerships to drive their success?
Well, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think their collaboration with the Trade Desk is a perfect example.
Okay.
Making their ACR data segments available on that platform, it unlocks some serious value and opens up new revenue potential through data licensing.
Smart.
It's a really savvy move, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to be paying off big time.
Yeah.
I mean, their CTV revenue is up a staggering 52% year over year.
That's huge.
Hitting $29.7 million in Q3 alone.
Wow.
Partnerships, like their work with LG Ads, are clearly a big part of that success.
Right.
But it's not just about partnerships. They're also leaning heavily into AI. Yeah. And not just in like a basic automation kind of way.
Right.
They're talking about incorporating generative AI across their entire platform.
That's what I find so interesting. It's a very forward-thinking approach.
Yeah.
Think about it. A virtual assistant built directly into their discovery tool, making audience creation and insights even more accessible, more powerful for users.
Okay.
And then you've got the potential for co-piloting features within their DSP, offering real-time campaign optimization suggestions.
So AI that helps you make smarter decisions on the fly.
Exactly. And it could really improve the overall user experience.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But what makes Nexon uniquely positioned to pull all of this off? I mean, a lot of companies are jumping on the AI bandwagon these days, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely a hot topic.
Yeah.
But I think this is where their full stack platform and those massive amounts of data they have really give them an advantage. It's not just hype. They've got the fuel to make AI truly work for them and for their clients.
Right. So they've got the data, they've got CTV, they're diving headfirst into AI. Are we missing anything in their arsenal?
Well, there's also the whole world of commerce media, which is growing incredibly fast.
Right, commerce media.
And Nexon is making some smart moves to be an early leader in that space.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, their partnership with Connective Media by United Airlines is a great one.
Now, that sounds interesting.
It is.
Can you break it down for us? What does this partnership mean for advertisers, and why is it such a big deal?
Well, just imagine
Yeah.
having access to all that first-party data from United's customer base
Right.
and their Mileage Plus program members.
Right.
It opens up some incredible targeting and reach opportunities
Uh-huh.
for advertisers, letting them connect with really specific, high-value audiences.
So that's the power of commerce media.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And Nexon is getting in on the ground floor.
Wow. So it sounds like they're really covering all the bases.
They are. From data and CTV to AI and now commerce media, they're not missing a beat.
It's impressive. But before we get too carried away with all the bells and whistles, let's take a look at the financials.
Okay, let's do it.
What kind of performance are we seeing from Nexon in terms of the numbers?
All right, well, let's dive into those Q3 2024 highlights.
Okay. Thanks, you.
Their contribution ex-TAC, excluding traffic acquisition costs, is up 12% year over year,
Like that?
reaching $85.5 million.
Okay.
Adjusted EBITDA shows a strong 49% jump to $31.6 million,
Wow.
with a margin expansion to 37%.
Those are solid numbers.
They are really strong performance all around.
It sounds like they're confident about keeping this momentum going.
Yeah, they seem to be.
What's their outlook for the rest of the year?
Well, they've reaffirmed their full year 2024 guidance for contribution ex-TAC, aiming for a range of $340 million to $345 million.
Okay.
But what's even more interesting is that they've actually raised their adjusted EBITDA guidance
Oh, really?
to approximately $107 million.
Wow. So they're not just meeting expectations, they're exceeding them.
Exactly. It's a really positive sign.
It is. But before we move on to our This Is Not Financial Advice segment
Right.
and cook up some crazy trade ideas,
Yeah.
there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to discuss.
Okay. What's that?
Nexon has proposed some pretty significant changes to their stock exchange structure.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like a pretty big move.
It is. It is. They're proposing to exchange their NASDAQ-listed American Depository Receipts,
ADRs.
or ADRs, right, for ordinary shares,
Uh-huh.
also listed on NASDAQ.
Right.
This would be followed by a reverse stock split
Okay.
at a 2-for-1 ratio just to make things clean
Right.
for those ADRs.
Gotcha.
And ultimately, they plan to delist from the A, which is a stock exchange in London.
Wow, that's a lot of moving parts. What's the rationale behind all of this? It seems like a pretty bold move.
I think it's all about strategic positioning for the future.
Okay.
They believe these changes will make them more attractive to U.S. investors.
Makes sense.
It'll streamline their reporting and regulatory requirements. And potentially, this is a big one, it could open the door to inclusion in major stock indices.
Interesting. So it's about broadening their appeal, making themselves a more attractive investment overall.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Definitely, definitely. And, they will be holding calls specifically for investors and analysts
Right.
to discuss these proposed changes in more detail.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So if anyone's interested in learning more, be sure to stay tuned for those.
Great point. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From their impressive financial performance and strategic moves to their really forward-thinking approach with data, CTV, AI, and commerce media.
Yeah, it's been a good overview.
But now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, it's time for our This Is Not Financial Advice segment.
Right, let's do it.
Just remember, everyone, this is purely for entertainment purposes, and we are not financial advisors.
Yep. That's right. This is just a bit of fun speculation.
Exactly. So let's get those creative juices flowing. What's your outrageous yet plausible trade idea based on everything we've learned about Nexon today?
Okay. Let me think. Given their dominance in CTV, their aggressive push into AI, and the potential for inclusion in major indices after these stock exchange changes, how about a long-term bullish call option play on Nexon?
Ooh, I like the sound of that. So you're essentially betting that their stock price has significant room to grow.
Yeah, exactly. As the market kind of catches on to their winning formula,
Right.
their current valuation might not fully reflect their potential, and this kind of play could allow investors to really capture that upside.
Interesting. Interesting. Of course, it's just one idea.
Right.
There are always other angles to consider.
Absolutely.
What are some other possibilities, just to kind of get the wheels turning for our listeners?
Well, how about a pairs trade? Go long on Nexon, but then short a competitor that's maybe lagging behind in the CTV and data game.
Interesting.
So you're kind of playing the field, hedging your bets, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a clever strategy.
Yeah, just a thought.
But again, I want to emphasize that this is all purely hypothetical.
Yes.
Which is brainstorming here, folks.
So we're having some fun.
Please do your own research and make informed investment decisions based on your individual circumstances and risk tolerance.
Couldn't agree more. These are just thought starters, not financial directives.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Nexon's Q3 2024 earnings call, what's the key takeaway for our listeners today?
I think the main takeaway is that Nexon has really transformed itself into a data-driven powerhouse in ad tech space.
They have, yeah.
Their focus on data, CTV, and AI is really setting them apart from the competition. And their financial performance speaks volumes about their strategic decisions. They're definitely a company to watch closely.
They are. But here's a final thought for everyone to ponder as we move on to the next part of our deep dive. Will this strategic focus on data, CTV, and AI be enough to propel them to the very top of the rapidly evolving ad tech landscape?
That's a great question.
Only time will tell, but it's going to be a fascinating journey to follow.
Absolutely. It's a dynamic industry.
Yeah.
And Nexon is right in the thick of it.
Well said. So, to our listeners, keep your eyes on Nexon, do your own research, and see what other insights you can uncover.
Yeah, keep exploring.
And if you find anything particularly interesting, be sure to share it with us.
We'd love to hear from you.
We're always eager to learn more.
Definitely. This has been a fascinating look into their Q3 earnings call.
It has.
And I have a feeling this is just the beginning of their story.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot more to come from Nexon, and we'll be here to break it all down for you. All right, everyone, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more from Nexon's Q3 2024 earnings call. All right, we're back with more from Nexon's Q3 2024 earnings call.
Back at it.
So where were we? Oh, yeah. Nexon is making big moves, shaking things up in the ad tech world.
Pushing boundaries, aiming to be a leader, not just keeping up. It's really exciting to see.
It is. And that's what makes it so interesting to follow their journey. We've seen some of their potential today.
Right.
But there are still some big questions out there.
For sure.
Like, will this huge bet they're making on data really pay off in the long run?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And can they stay ahead in connected TV with all these new competitors jumping in?
It's a crowded space.
It is.
Yeah.
And how will they actually use AI in a way that helps them and their clients?
That's the key, right? Actually making AI work for you.
Exactly. Those are the million-dollar questions. And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating.
Absolutely. It's a fast-paced industry, constantly changing.
And Nexon is right there on the front lines. They're making bold moves, pushing the limits of what's possible in ad tech.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, to our listeners, I say keep a close eye on Nexon. Do your own research. See what else you can discover about their journey. And if you find anything interesting,
let us know.
We always love hearing from our listeners. This has been a great deep dive into Nexon's Q3 2024 earnings call. And I think this is just the start of their story.
I think so, too. There's so much more to come from them, and we'll be here to cover it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on Talk Tickers, everyone. Until next time, happy investing.
It's a fast-paced industry, and Nexon, they're not shying away from taking risks.
No, they're not.
Pushing boundaries, really shaking things up in the ad tech world.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's not just about keeping up.
Right.
They're aiming to lead the charge. And that's what makes their story so compelling.
It is, yeah.
I mean, we've uncovered some clues about their potential today.
Yeah, we have.
But there are still so many questions left unanswered,
Exactly. Like, will their big bet on data really pay off in the long run?
Right.
Can they maintain their lead in CTV as more competitors enter the space?
And how will they harness the power of AI in a way that actually benefits both them and their clients?
Those are the million-dollar questions.
They are.
That's what keeps things so interesting, It's a dynamic landscape.
Yeah.
And Nexon is right at the forefront, making these bold moves, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in ad tech.
Well said. So, to our listeners, keep your eyes on Nexon.
Yeah, definitely.
Do your own research, explore their journey, and see what other insights you can uncover.
Yeah, and if you find anything particularly interesting, be sure to share it with us.
We're always eager to learn more.
Absolutely. We love hearing from our listeners.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into Nexon's Q3 2024 earnings call.
It has.
And I have a feeling this is just the beginning of their story.
I think you're right. There's a lot more to come from Nexon, and we'll be here to break it all down for you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on Talk Tickers, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time, happy investing.